Don't worry about your video. We're going to be in New York next week. Meet us at the Park Meridian Hotel. You all sound interested. We want to get moving. First lesson of this story, the story of what I call the unsung apprentice, Mr. Dave Smith, is to circumvent the system, think creatively, go around, and problem solve. He didn't apply through the online. He didn't go through the lines and wait and casting. He picked up the phone, asked to speak to the person in charge, and went for it. He went for the jugular. Remember that as you move forward in your life. So we are here a week later with the casting director. He's a young guy, and we sit in this room in this hotel, myself and Dave Smith, we walk in, and to break the ice, we had already thought of what we were going to say. We sit down in front of this casting director and we say, look, we know there is a one black guy rule in reality TV. And he says, what? I said, we know there's a one black guy rule in reality TV. I said, name more than one show that has more than one black guy. And he's like, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. He said, well, look, we brought two black guys so you could pick one. So we had a strategy from the very beginning. We made it very easy for him. It was a great icebreaker. He started laughing because he knew we were right on target with it. And we began to have this 2-hour discussion about why we wanted to be on The Apprentice, what we thought we could add to it, why it was a unique experience. He said, you know what, I really like you guys. Come back tomorrow, we're going to talk some more. Come back the next day, have another 2-hour discussion, same topics, a little bit more detail. And he says, Kwame, I think, we want to have you on the show. Why don't you submit a videotape? So I go home, in classic me fashion. I don't go to a video store. I don't call my friends who majored in digital cinematography or any of that kind of stuff. I call a friend. I say, can I borrow your video camera? You know, the kind with the camera, the screen that flips around that you can see. So I become my own producer, right? So I'm in New York, in a New York apartment, and I put my camera on my oven, and I sit on the bed. Remember, this is a New York apartment. Oven, bed, oven. All right? So I put my camera on the oven, and I begin to tell my story about why my life sucked. Why I thought that I was going to get to New York, and I had my fancy-dancy degree, and I was going to make all this Wall Street money and be, like the people in the movies, and none of it had turned out like that. And it just been a really tumultuous time, and, friends were bartending with, fancy degrees, and it was a very bad time. And I said, look, I think that this show can be a platform for a whole new direction in my life, and I really would like to participate. So I send my tape out after telling my little, bleeding heart story, and I get selected. Now, what happens is, of the 215,000 people who downloaded the application, they selected 50 people to be finalists for the last 16 slots. So 50 people were flown out to LA, and we went out to what I call executive prison. Now, in executive prison, the way it works is you stay in this great hotel right in California, right near the beach. But guess what? You can't leave your room. You can't call anybody. You can't talk to anybody. You can't do anything. You can't talk to the other prospective contestants because they're afraid that you're going to give away secrets or accents or strategies, etc. So you are in executive prison. And the reason it was really executive prison is because every day they slide an agenda under your door and it says breakfast, workout, psychological interview, aptitude test. It's your schedule for the day. They tell you what you're going to be doing. So over the course of all these days, after taking aptitude tests and sitting in the lunchroom and not being able to talk to the other kids and all the kinds of things that they do in executive prison, I was on the treadmill one day after about the 4th day. And on the treadmill, I ran, 3 to 5 miles, which is a lot for me. And so I'm sweating and I'm, soaked and all my stuff is just really just kind of hanging loose. And someone comes up to me, it's one of the personal assistants or production assistants for the show, and she says, Kwame, the producers want to see you right now. Now, I've met with the producers 3 or 4 times. I've been there 4 or 5 days, and I'm like, right now? I'm soaked, got the ring stain under the shirt, and she's like, no, they want to meet with you right now. I was like, okay, fine, that's what they want to do, fine. So I go and I follow her and I go meet with the producers. I open the door, and it's Mark Burnett and the entire Apprentice production staff, like 30 people. And so I'm like, okay, this is Judgment Day, fine. I get to finally find out if I make the show. They're like, sit down, we want to talk to you. So I start talking to them, and they say, you know what? We want you to be on the show. I'm going to have an anxiety attack. And I didn't do this outwardly, I did this inwardly. Because I was a Harvard Business School graduate who was working at Goldman Sachs, who had to go back and explain to my multimillionaire bosses that I was leaving to do a reality show. So you think about that. You know, that's not the normal career progression, right? So I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to explain this? What am I going to say at work to make this make sense? How am I going to explain it to myself so that I can digest it? And why does this make sense? Now, the lesson from this particular tale, and why I go back to Goldman and talk to them about this opportunity, is opportunities don't come in the packages that always make sense.